Hello Avenue, welcome back to the All Age Talks. It is finally summer! And today we're continuing with our summer biographies. We're looking at George Muller, who was around in the 1800s, and he did some pretty amazing things with God's help. If you were hungry, who would you ask for a snack? Mum? Maybe your dad? Or maybe someone else that looks after you. George Muller, this guy, he knew that the best person to ask if he needed anything was his friend Jesus. He was born in Germany, but he came over to England to tell people about his friend Jesus. He wasn't paid and he never asked anyone for money. He asked Jesus to give him what he needed, and he did. He set up schools for boys and girls so that they could learn to read and write and tell them about his friend Jesus. He asked Jesus to give him the money that he needed, and Jesus did. George set up homes for boys and girls with no families. One day, George prayed for food for the children. The doorbell rang. It was the baker, wanting to give them bread. It rang again. It was the milkman wanting to give them milk. George looked after thousands of children. They always had food. They always had clothes. They even had enough money to give away to people who needed it more. George asked Jesus to help him with food, money and clothes, and even the drains and the holes in the roof. And Jesus did. George knew that Jesus always looks after his friends. There's a verse in the Bible that says this: "He provides food for those who fear him. He remembers his covenant forever." It's from Psalm 111, verse 5. But what it means by fear isn't that sort of fear that we get when we watch a scary movie or the fear that we have of our scary teacher. It means to understand and to realise the mighty and awesome power of God. And a covenant is like a promise. And the Bible says that God will never break his promises. Here, God is promising that he will provide the food we need. Do you remember in the Lord's Prayer that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, where Jesus said we should pray that God would give us our daily bread? Well, here he is promising that he will answer that prayer and give us what we need. Now, God isn't promising that he will give us what we want. I want lots of cake. Maybe you want that toy that looks so good and so fun, or that mobile phone that everyone else has. God isn't saying that if we fear him and recognise his might and live in a way that shows that he will give us those things that we want. No, he's saying that if we fear him, he will give us what we need. And that's a promise. How amazing is our God? He provided for George Muller and all those children he looked after. There was 10,000 of them, and he will provide for you and me.